presentation in about 1 minute. So if you can hear me, if you're in the M room, please make your way into the auditorium.
All right. Good evening, everybody. First, I'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening. And again, I'd like to express our gratitude and thanks to our community for their support up to this point. This is an exciting milestone in the project to construct a new high school campus, and one that we can all be proud of to serve our community for the years to come. We've committed to bring project details like the ones we're going to share tonight to our community at points throughout the process to seek feedback, understanding, and inform everybody of the progress up until that point. And tonight is one of those opportunities. The project team that Mr. Figueroa will introduce to us shortly is prepared to share with the community the substantial progress that they've made towards beginning construction. And tonight they'll be sharing with us site plans, current estimates for the project, 3D renders that are a culmination of the efforts of all the cross-functional teams that have been working very closely and diligently for our community to develop the plans from a blank piece of paper to what you're going to see this evening.
Thanks, Rich. So we are excited to be at this point in the project where we have something substantial that we can show the community. As we move into the next phases of this project, so we just recently now we have the size and footprint of the building locked in so we can move into the phasing for architecture. We have the site plan pretty much narrowed down other than some minor changes that have to be done so that can get locked in. So, but when we show later on, we're going to show, the architect is going to show some renderings, and they're going to show an animation. And some of the finishes that are inside may end up being different in the final product than what they are in the rendering. So I just want people to be aware of that, but the things that we need to have locked in to move into the next phase are all locked in. We are going to have opportunities over the next several months where we are going to ask for some community engagement to discuss some of the legacy or cultural things that we would want to bring from the current campus to the new campus. So we can have some discussions about that and determine what those things are. So there will be some community engagement opportunities coming up in the next few months. The Board of Education members set up in the outside of the pack here to collect some questions ahead of time. If you develop questions while we're doing the presentation, if you want to write them down and you hold them up, somebody will come by and pick those up, and then we'll sort them so that all the similar questions are put together so we can answer them as direct as possible. If you have questions after the presentation, we also have an email address set up, and we will show that at the end. We'll put it up on the screen, but I'll just tell you what it is right now. The email is monroehsproject at monroe.wi.k12.us. Excuse me, .k12.wi.us. So we'll put that up on the screen at the end. If you want, you can take a picture of it or write it down. And questions about the project can be sent to that email address, and then we'll work in a timely manner to be able to answer those questions for you. So we have several of our main contractors here up here, and I'm just going to do a quick introduction. So the order for tonight is we are going to start with the civil engineer. So Jesse Duff from Fehr Graham has been working as primary. I just saw Jesse wave. Thanks, Jesse. So he's going to show the rendering that he has for the site plan. After Jesse, we will have Dan Chovanec and Todd Kirchma from CG Schmidt. They are our general contractor, and they will share information about how to bid on the project, whether you're union, non-union, or a local business. So you understand that we have options for local partners to be able to work on this project, have that possibility. They're also going to show the budget, where the budget is, so people can see what those numbers are. So this presentation was updated from Monday night because the board had some input about some other things they wanted to see. So we will have this up after the meeting tonight. Probably sometime tomorrow we'll get it up and replace the other one so the information is there that was asked for. And then, of course, not last, but then Michael Brush, he is our lead architect on the project. He is going to present the renderings and a 3D fly-through of several spaces in the project and explain the footprint and the layout as we have it. And at that point, then the board, whatever questions they have, they'll have them sorted and we can go through there. Also on the stage, we have our owner's reps from Huffman and Keel here with us. So we have Mike Huffman, Ryan Burton, and Carl Kramer. And they all have unique jobs within the project to oversee this, to help to make sure that things run as smoothly as possible and are as efficiently as possible. Carl Kramer, you will see him more around the community as the project gets going. He will be our site person. He will be on the site nearly every day while the project is going on. So with that said, I'm going to turn this over right now to Mr. Jesse Duff from Fehr Graham. Jesse, thank you.
Thanks, Fig. So like Fig said, my name is Jesse Duff, and I'm with Fehr Graham Engineering and Environmental right here in Monroe. I am the site designer on the project, and I am excited to be able to show the community what we've put together. What you see in front of you is the latest layout. In the center of the screen in the maroon is the new high school building. I'll start off by talking a little bit about the building and we'll work our way out around the site. The main entrance to the building is located along the west side of the site. There is a parent drop-off at the main entrance, as well as parking on the west and on the north. The building wing starts off in the northwest corner, is one of the main educational units. Working clockwise over here in the northeast is the PAC Center. Working around the southeast is the gymnasium and locker room facility. And then in the southwest is the CTE program, as well as admin at the front of the building. There is also a long corridor that extends from the front of the building towards the back of the building. And I'll talk a little bit, and Michael will talk in much more depth about the building later. From a site plan, the main entrance or the main access route to the building is actually located along the north side and extends to the east to County Highway KK. And I'll talk more about that one in a minute. But this road along the north is an extension or a future extension of 8.5 Street, which connects over, will be a future connection over by Northside Elementary. Along the west side of the site is 31st Avenue, in which we will have a secondary access route connecting to 31st, which will mainly be used for buses, as well as about 30% of the traffic volume. Looking around the parking lot, as we have on the south side of the main entrance, is a student and faculty parking, which can also be used for the baseball complex. To the north of that is also additional student and faculty parking, and along the north is event as well as student and faculty parking. As you work your way around, you'll notice the stadium, the football stadium. This is a full football stadium as well with field as well as varsity soccer field. It also has an 8-lane track, all-weather track around the field. On the east side is the triple jump, long jump, and pole vault, as well as 2 discus fields, shot put, and practice football and soccer fields. On the south side of the football stadium is tennis courts, and on the west side is the bleachers, as well as concession area and restrooms. Something that is pretty neat about the site is, as we laid this out, We put the building on the top of the hill as there is a natural ridge line that flows from the northeast down or northwest to the southeast. We did this for several reasons, mainly because we take advantage of the natural topography of the site. We can generate our cut underneath our building, which means that this building will be on a strong foundation, and we utilize that material for our fills outside of our building. This also provides a natural drainage away from the building to avoid any water intrusion or future stormwater issues. Also along the south edge of the building, you'll notice is an additional parking area. This is actually used to separate bus traffic from the main student and faculty and event parking. This separation allows for a safe, efficient use of the area and allows for a bus drop-off down in this location for students to enter the building from the south. It also allows for parking for events such as tennis matches, as well as also for practice facilities for students. On the building is up in this area is what we call back of house, where deliveries will take place as well as truck docks and dumpster locations. And then we also have access into the construction tech education areas with auto and woods for access with overhead doors. As we said, there is a baseball complex located over on the west side of the site, which has a varsity baseball field, varsity softball field, as well as practice fields on the west side. There is also a concession stand that will be used with restrooms as well as storage, and we also have batting cages laid out as well as bleachers and bullpens. The site also follows the natural topography, as I had stated, with the lower area being down in this region. And you can see the aerial laid out underneath, as this is an existing wetland area. And we were able to avoid that and then also surround it with our retention ponds. These retention ponds will be used for water quality and to treat the stormwater before it releases into the wetland. And it also meets state as well as local regulations for water quality and for control of stormwater generated from our site, as we are allowed to release the 100-year storm at a 10-year rate, therefore reducing the amount of water that goes off onto the neighbors from our development site. We do also have a retention pond over in the northeast corner, which will be used for water that is draining from the northeastern side of the site, and again to control stormwater quality as well as runoff from the site. I'm not sure if I noted it, but the football field will be an artificial turf football field with access to the stadium from the north. There will be ADA access up to the top of the stadium. And one neat thing about the natural topography of the site and the way it is laid out is we will actually have a top load bleacher system, which allows spectators to look down over top of the bleachers, as the football field will be 14 foot lower than what the finished floor of the main building is. Yep. And then the main entrance to the building is on the west side with the parent drop-off. I'll now move on to the access route to County Highway KK. As I stated, the main entrance for the school is an access route which connects KK to our property. This access route parallels State Highway 11, which is on the north, and then connects down by Radio Lane. This roadway does have horizontal curvature to it, and this was done on purpose. It follows the natural topography down through the area and also allows for a traffic calming so that we don't just have a straightaway down through here, which helps reduce speed in the area. This roadway is designed at a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, which will be a private access route, but it is designed at local road standards. The paving width will be 22 feet wide with 3-foot gravel shoulders on each side. And to put that into perspective, County Highway KK is 22.5 feet paving wide with 3-foot gravel shoulders. The access point at which we are connecting onto KK was designed with a purpose. The main portion is we had to make sure that we have sight distance in each direction. For any vehicles that are waiting to turn onto the access, we have to make sure that they have plenty of visibility in order to see vehicles, in order to react and slow down in plenty of time for safety reasons. We also analyzed the location of this based on intersection sight distance, so that if somebody is leaving the access route and wants to turn onto County Highway KK, they have plenty of visibility from the east to make the right turn, and they also have plenty of visibility to the west to make the left turn. And these were all analyzed using WSDOT standard design practices for a 60-mile-an-hour speed along County Highway KK. The access road also has 2 crossings of a stream. The north one has a box culvert, and the southern one has a double cell box culvert. These have been permitted with the DNR as well as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So I'm happy to say that approval and permit is in hand. I'll go ahead and turn it over to CG Schmidt to talk about the budget as well as the schedule.
Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, pass me the clicker. There we go. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Chovanec. I'm a Senior Vice President with CG Schmidt, and I'm serving as the project executive for this project. So today, I want to talk, just spend a few minutes talking about our experience working in Monroe, our commitment to engaging local subcontractors. I'm gonna go over our approach to budgeting, especially early on when the design isn't 100% complete. Then we're gonna go over where the numbers are landing for this project. And then I have the last slide. I'll just go over the timeline of the project as we go through the bidding process and then into construction and post-construction. Whoops. All right, so here's just a list of several of the projects that we have completed in Monroe. Several for the school district, for the clinic, Monroe Arts Center, and many others. And I think this is important because we really have a good understanding of the community and the contractors that work in this community. And that's really going to help us on this project as we engage them and give them opportunities to be part of this project. Also, what we've also tried to do is be very committed to this community by giving back. We supported a lot of these clients with sponsorships, volunteering time, donations, and several other things. So next, I want to talk about our process on how we're going to engage local contractors. So we have a process that we go through that is really tried and true, and what we do is we create a bidders list, and we share that bidders list with the district just to make sure that we have the right contractors on there and we're not missing anyone. After we do that, then we go through a pre-qualification process. And what we want to do with that is make sure that this contractor is financially strong, they have a good safety record, they do quality work, they have experience doing the type of work we want them to do. Then what we do is we don't just send an email blast out to everyone, we actually call the contractors, we get to know them, understand their capabilities, and start telling them about the project. And hopefully there's some local contractors in the room tonight. What we also do is we do a subcontractor engagement session, and it's kind of similar to this, but what we do is we kind of go over high-level overview of the project, the different bid packages, the timing of it, and then we meet with everyone individually and really get to know them and understand what they can do and what they'd like to do, just so that we can ensure that they have the highest opportunity to be part of this project. And what we do at CG Schmidt, what our job is to get all the bids, level those bids out, get everything apples to apples, do a side-by-side comparison. We provide all the backup. We will recommend a subcontractor, but we turn that over to the school board, and it's really their choice on who they want to use for this project. Another thing we do too, that it's not just the subcontractors, but we really encourage everyone on site to use the local restaurants, to buy their gas in town, and do everything we can to give back to the community. This next slide shows an example of how we can customize our bid packages, to customize them to the capabilities and the contractors that are in town. And there may be this is just an example of glass. There's some contractors that are pretty large and they can handle all the different types of glass, the mirrors, the interior glass, the exterior glass, the windows, the storefront, things like that. There's other ones that maybe aren't that big and only can do one or two of those. So we break it down into smaller pieces so that they have, again, every opportunity to submit a bid on this project and be competitive and hopefully be part of the project. All right, so the next thing I was going to talk about is just kind of our philosophy, our approach to estimating. And what we want to do, especially early on in these estimates, is make them as accurate as possible. And this is just kind of a diagram that shows that. The one on the left, that's not the way, I guess it would be, depending on where you're facing it, but that's not how we do it. We just don't take the plans, do a cost per square foot, and then that's the number. We put a lot more resources into it, a lot more effort into it, and we're really trying to get that as accurate as possible. So we start off with those plans. We do takeoffs. We're at user group meetings with the design team in the district. We also, 40% of the volume of our work is K-12, so we have a lot of experience working in this market. So if there's something not drawn on the drawing, we can fill in the blanks. We know what it takes to complete a high school of this scope and magnitude. We do site visits. We look at geotech reports. We do use our historical data because we have a lot of it. We've been in business 103 years, and a good portion of our work is in the K-12 market. We get subcontractor input, and we did that on this project just so we get our pricing and our historical data, and we compare that to what the marketplace is saying things are costing. We have in-house mechanical, electrical, plumbing managers and low-voltage managers. We really track inflation and make sure we're factoring that into it. So it really gives us the most accurate pricing so that the district can make good decisions, and we don't want to have any surprises when we bid this project out. And then the one thing, too, that I think is important to know, and we have it listed there, is we've never exceeded a referendum budget in our 132 years in business. And we're really, really proud of that. All right, now the cost estimate. I think that's what everyone's probably waiting to see. So I want to start off just with the different funding sources that we have for this project. And there's really just two. We have the referendum, which was $88 million, and then we have the bond interest income on the money that is borrowed for this project, which is $7 million, because all that money is not going to be needed to be spent right away. And that gives us $95 million for this project. And this next slide, this just shows how, what we look at, let me take a step back. What we look at is not just the construction cost, but the total project cost. And it's really broken into two components. One is the hard cost, and that's really the direct cost for building a building. So the steel, the concrete, the excavation, the roof, things like that. Then there's the soft cost, and the soft cost is more the indirect cost that's needed to build a building. So that can be, there's design that's needed, there's geotech reports, there's material testing, things like that. And this is how we kind of allocated that $95 million for this project. So the first line that you see is the pre-development expenses. So these are things like survey, the traffic study, the geotech report. And there's others that go into that as well. Then there's the professional services. So this is the architect, the engineers, the consultants that are all needed to design this building. Then there's the owner direct expenses. So what this is furniture and equipment, technology, things like that go into a building. We have some other expenses, which is a little smaller amount, but that's more the permitting, the builder's risk insurance, things like that go into that one. Then the last two items that you see on there, that's the direct cost or the hard cost. So that's the construction cost at $82,300,000. And then, and that's for the high school. And then we have Abraham Lincoln. We're doing work there as well, and we have $3.4 million budgeted for that. So that makes up the $95 million. So the next slide is get this to work. There we go. So the next slide, so we kind of start at a higher level when we're presenting the budget. So this is our executive summary, and this is the construction cost. That budget we had at $82,300,000. We are coming in right now at $82,252,696. So we're a little bit under that budget. And at this stage in the project, we feel very, very good with where we're at in the project. And the makeup of this cost is the building, the new high school, the athletic fields, the road to KK that Jesse showed you earlier, and then the site work and site improvements. And we're going to go over a schedule in a minute, but just kind of high level, we're looking at late April, early May start. We have a 22-month schedule. That puts us into March of 26 as a completion date, and that gives them plenty of time for the district to move into that building so they're ready for that school year in the fall of 26. The next few slides that I'm going to share, what we do next is then we break the budget down into the different building components. And we get very detailed with this so that we can, get this cost as accurate as possible. So you can see on this first page, I'm not going to go line by line. It's quite a bit of information, but this will be shared with you for people that like to get in the details and want to review this. So on this first page, this kind of gets into the cost of the footings and foundations, the structure, the enclosure, things like that, the drywall, the studs for the walls. The next page then goes into all the interior finishes, so your floor, your ceilings, the painting, the casework, the doors, different things like that, and that's all broken out into different line items. We also break out all the bleachers, the food service equipment, the theater equipment, and then we get into the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. And that makes up a pretty large portion of the project. That could be 25–30% of the project. So we break all those down as well, and that's all starting to shown on this sheet in the next. And then the last portion of the project is the site. So we break that down into the earthwork, the asphalt, the utilities, landscaping, hardscaping, things like that. And we get to a subtotal, about $77 million. We add a contingency to that because there will be some, unforeseen things and different things that we want to make sure we can account for that. And then we have we have our insurance and the fee and the bond needed for the project, and we have our total cost of $82,255,000. And that's how we come up with the cost. So right now, we're in really good shape. Things are tracking well. And next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the schedule and the timeline for the project. So hopefully, I know that's a little small, and I apologize for that. Hopefully, everyone can see it all right. So we kind of started off with, in the upper left-hand corner, when the referendum was passed in November of 22. And then there was a process we went through to analyze all the different sites and select the best property for this project. So we went through that process, and then the design process could begin. So right now we've gone through, there's three different phases in the design process. There's a schematic design phase, which we pretty much are at right now. Now we're starting the design development phase, and then we'll get into the construction document phase. So at the end of schematic design, we did a budget update, and that was the budget that I shared with you, and it was a very detailed and involved process to get to that number. Now, every 2 months, 2.5 months, we'll do another budget update just to make sure things are tracking well until we get to our final number in September. And then in between there, we have a phased approach to bidding this project. So the first bid package is going to come at the end of February, and that's going to be essentially the site, the excavation and utility plan. And then a month later, at the end of March, then we're going to have the footings and foundations, the structure, the athletic fields, and then we're going to look to engage some of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing contractors for this project. And then we have a third bid package, and that'll be towards the end of June, and that's going to be everything else. And it's really everything inside of the building, all the interior fit out of the building, the landscaping, things like that. So our plan then, from a construction standpoint, is, some of this is a little bit weather dependent, but what we'd like to do is start at the end of April, early May, and start in break ground and start construction. We have a 22-month schedule to do all that work. That takes us out until beginning of March of 2026. And then there's a time for the owner to move into the building, and then, getting that ready for the opening of school in September of 26. Also, we're doing work at Abraham Lincoln. So this summer, we're replacing the HVAC system or the mechanical system at Abraham Lincoln. And then next summer, there's more work that we'll be doing there with making bathrooms ADA compliant and some other upgrades in the facility. So that's what I had for today. So if you have questions, we'll have opportunities at the end of the presentation to address those. And now I'm going to turn it over to Michael, the lead architect on the project, and he's going to show you the kind of the fun part of the renderings of the building. Let me get down there. There we go.
Excellent. Thanks, Dan. All good news. I'm going to get up and move around a little bit here. We're going to show you some pretty pictures. And I want to start by saying that, this has really been a long road for all of you, and we're really honored to be a part of it. What I'm going to show you tonight is a step along that road. We're still on it. We are about 50% done with design on the building, and we still have a few months to go before we can really get into drawing the building that will eventually be built. So, as Fig alluded to, there are pieces in this presentation that might change, and some of it might stay the same. We hope most of it does, but just want to caution you that this is an informational meeting, and we hope to get all of this in there, and we'll see how it all goes, but there's a lot more to come. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through the plans, and I'm going to do that in a little bit of detail, so it's going to be a little bit meticulous at first. And then we're going to talk about the exterior of the building. I'm going to show you pieces of it so that you can kind of focus in on each little piece and understand how the building is going to be put together. And then after that, we're going to do a fly around the building, so you'll be able to see it in an aerial view. And then we're actually going to fly into the main corridor space, as Jesse called it. I'm going to be calling it the Commons all night tonight, so when you hear that term, that's the main space in the middle of the building. And then we're going to show you some classrooms and some other things. So should be fun, so kick back and enjoy the show a little bit here. I'm going to start out with, oops, I'm going to point that way, with the floor plans. So this is a big building, and it doesn't all fit on a screen that you can see. So we're going to start out with the southern half of the first floor. And the building, as I mentioned, is divided by this commons area in the middle. So this is the west side of the building, and this is the main entrance. And you can walk all the way through the commons, out the back doors to the football stadium. So we're going to concentrate on this lower level, or the southern half of the first floor first. So you'll be coming in the front door of the building and going into the administrative area where you will announce yourself and be given your badge, and then only then you will be allowed into the building through these doors here. So it'll be different than it is now, where you can get into the building and then you get your badge and you're already in the corridors. That won't be possible in the new building. So this is the entire administrative area, where we have the associate principal, or assistant principal, the principal, all the guidance counselors. The career center is here, easily accessible from the commons for all the kids to access the administrators inside this red area. If you continue across the hall, we have the family and consumer education area and the health room in this kind of magenta color. We have the art areas here, so 3D arts, 2D art, computers and photography in that area. And then further down this corridor, dropping down 4 more feet, is the tech ed area. So we have launch in this area, the automotive garage, and then metals lab, woods lab, trades, and the fab lab. So this entire area is all tech ed. The gray area in the middle is all kind of back of house, as Jesse mentioned. We have mechanical areas, receiving, storage, and then the kitchen accessible from the receiving. This is that service area that we have with access into trades, and but there will also be dumpsters and semis and a couple of docks back there for deliveries and so forth. So the kitchen is here and the server is here, which is open to the commons. So the commons is designed to be the heart of the building, and it's going to be the heart for the students and for the community. We expect that to be one of the most memorable parts of the whole building. But the main purpose for it really, and the square footage that we use for it, comes from the cafeteria. So the middle of that space is going to be used as the cafeteria, just kind of like it is here. Except we're going to create it more like a collegiate commons area. So we're going to have all kinds of different types of seating, large harvest tables, soft seating, high tops, low tops, small tables, big tables, really making it an exciting but very useful space for the kids and for the community to use. We also have in this area 2 very large toilet areas that are serving not only the commons, but they're also serving the field house and the auditorium. So the auditorium, which we'll get to in a minute, that's going to seat 700 people. And the field house is designed to seat 1,800 people. Now, one of the interesting things about the field house is that you will enter the field house from the top. So you go down the commons, enter through these doors, and enter onto this walkway, and then walk down the bleachers to your seat. So just like the football field, the basketball court is 14 feet below the first floor, and we'll show you the lower level in a minute. The last part on this southern half of the building I want to show you are the fitness center and the multipurpose room. And underneath that are the locker rooms. But those are actually going to open directly onto this walkway and have a direct view onto the floor over the bleachers. So when you're in the field house, you'll be able to look across the field house and actually see through windows into the fitness room and the multipurpose room. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a minute. All right, let's go to the north half. So again, we have the commons in the middle. The north half has a 2-story wing of classrooms in this location, the northwestern corner of the building. And in this wing, we have all the special ed rooms in dark blue, and then we have the English classrooms in the light blue. This is a learning center and some teaching education rooms and intervention rooms. And then we have toilet rooms in this area to serve not only this part of the commons, but the wing of classrooms and these classrooms here as well. CTE has their own smaller toilet rooms down in the south part of this floor. In the middle, we have the LMC in this brownish gold color. And you'll be able to see through the LMC. There'll be glass windows here and windows here out into this grassy area between the 2 wings here. And you'll be able to see that in the fly-through. Continuing down, we have the mouse house where we would have, the business students and various other organizations able to sell various things, merchandise and so forth. And then behind that, we have the agriculture classroom and the agriculture lab. And then a head house, which is, today we had a joke about that. Somebody said, did you say hen house? And no, it's a head house. It's the thing that connects the building to the greenhouse. And so the greenhouse is located in this area. And you'll notice in the fly around, the greenhouse is actually rotated 90 degrees from the way I have it here. So that's the agriculture classrooms here. And then, of course, the 700-seat auditorium with a full stage and fly. And the auditorium is going to be designed, I'm not going to show you any pictures of it tonight, but it's going to have a raked floor like this, but then it's going to have a slightly more pitched section in the back. This here is going to be a little bit more pitched. There's no balcony on this in this design. We have the support spaces for the auditorium, the scene shop, the costume area, the makeup area, and then the dressing rooms. And then this is music. So we have the band room, the ensemble room, and the vocal room, and then all the practice rooms in front of that. So a lot of activity in that whole area. So let's look at the second floor. So, you know, the Commons is a 2-story space. In this area, it's 2 stories, but here there's a bridge that connects, that takes you from the monumental stair across these science classrooms and back down this corridor where the additional science classrooms are. Or you can take this bridge across to a southern wing of classrooms that is on top of the administrative area. And so there is a teacher's lounge here. There are 3 business classrooms and 5 social studies classrooms in the southern wing. And that is a flex pull-out space. And of course a stair to the lower level. And then walking down that corridor, we would get to foreign languages and math with an intervention space and a flex pull-out space, and then another stair down to the lower level. And as I said, coming back down this way and walking on this walkway, so that walkway is 10 feet wide, so you're going to be looking over a 40-foot opening down to the space below. And you'll be walking past physics, chemistry, and then biology, with more breakout spaces back there. Okay? Lower level. Hello. Here we go. All right, so this is the field house floor. And it's actually, when I drew this, it was, we had wood on the upper half. It's going to be all wood. So we have the varsity court with the bleachers shown pulled out. And as I said, this is 1,800 seats. Then we have 2 cross courts in that area. And then down here we have 2 more cross courts. This would be the junior varsity court. And I forgot to mention that there is a track that goes around the entire first floor of this space. So right above here is a track. Part of it is useful for getting to the bleachers, but you can also run or walk on this portion and use that. The community will have access to that, and Phi Ed will have access to that. Behind the bleachers here, we have all the locker rooms, the boys and girls Phi Ed and boys and girls team locker rooms, as well as officials locker rooms. Well, not locker rooms, changing rooms more like. And then a third stair. There's an elevator here and another elevator in the Commons to serve the western wings. So there's 2 elevators in the building. Okay. Let's look at some fun stuff. All right, so we're going to start to show you some glimpses of the outside. And I understand this has changed a little bit from when we last presented a design, but a lot has changed, and it's gotten better, it's gotten more sophisticated, and we want to show you what we did. We're really proud of the way the school is looking. It starts here with the front door, and I wanted to focus in on this a little bit to show you in detail, what we're talking about. This is a perforated metal screen that is meant to be kind of the banner that introduces everybody to the front of the school in a simple but elegant way. And then we put the name of the school on that. And that's over the administrative area, which is constructed with glass and aluminum windows and a black metal panel system on this portion of the building. That is that's part of the learning center that I mentioned before, and that's an orange-colored metal panel system as well, but with a board and batten style on it. Very inexpensive design on those 2 elements, but adding a punch of color to the building. About 85% of the building is precast concrete, and that's what you're seeing in the distance here. These are panelized systems that from that gray area down to here is one panel. And what we do is we create 2 different panels, and then we just put them all over the building. And when you put them in different combinations, you get a building that looks a lot more complex than it really is. And we use a horizontal design here in order to get the maximum amount of windows and daylight and views for the students. If you used a vertical metal panel, precast design, which I'll show you in a minute, you get smaller and less windows. So we purposefully chose this design in order to maximize the light in the building. In the background, you're seeing the commons. That's the roof of the commons and the structure holding the roof up. I feel like we're getting tired here. All right, so we're going over to the northwest corner of the building. A little bit of detail of that precast system. So this is one panel, this is another panel down here, and you get the variation in color just by using retarders in the concrete and washing some of it away to expose the lighter aggregate underneath. And then the darker parts are the surface colors. So it's a very simple way to make a multicolored building like this. And to me, it starts to look a lot more like granite than concrete. This is also concrete on the end, a different way to do it, just putting some reveals in the concrete panel to create that look. All 3 of the stairwells are designed to have glass storefront, we call it. So on 2 floors in order to make those really great spaces for the students to circulate in and also to see really what's going on inside those. It's both easy to see what's going on and also just a great space to be in. Moving around to the CTE section of the building, this is where we start to use the vertical panels. And you can see when you use the vertical panels, you get smaller windows. But what we did here is we created one type of panel here with that kind of design on it, and another one here with that kind of design on it, and then we flipped them 180 degrees to get the vision windows down below, and in this case, in places like autos and metals and woods, the windows are up high so we can maximize wall space. So very simple design, but that's why you get this kind of, sometimes there's pattern on top and sometimes there's pattern on the bottom. And that's a design motif that we use throughout. Circling around to the gym, 38-foot tall panels, same concept. These panels are sometimes turned around in order to put the pattern on the bottom and change the location of the windows. Add a little bit of variety for no additional cost. Another stairwell with the glass enclosure, and then the multi-purpose and fitness area here, and you're starting to see the auditorium in the background. And music is over here. Come on. There we go. All right, so more of the music area, the auditorium, and this wall faces Highway 11, so it's going to be a really great opportunity to possibly put some signage for the building that people will be able to see from Highway 11. We have the back of house functions, dressing rooms and makeup and so forth with the high windows and the pattern on the bottom. Same thing in band, mostly high windows in order to maximize wall space. Circling around, now you get to see a glimpse of the greenhouse, and this is that science section on the second floor, and then we have the ag classrooms over there and the LMC underneath the science classrooms. We added a splash of color in here because this is going to be a very prominent road here, what may someday connect to 8.5 and come up from Highway KK. This would be very prominent, so we want to do a little bit more to that facade by adding that red area. All right, so now we're going to do a complete fly around so you can see what it all looks like together. So that's that southern classroom wing, and here's the CTE, the tech ed areas. Garage doors for all those, the auto shop and metals and woods. Those are the loading docks, obviously. And then here's the gym buried in the ground a little bit. The stair at the end of the multi-purpose and locker room wing. And you can see how that's buried in the ground. And then we rise up again, and we have this large plaza that's going to be kind of the center for the outdoor athletics. Access to the commons from this side. This is music. And then back of house auditorium spaces. Scene shop. And then, obviously ag here with the head house and science classrooms, and then the northwest classroom wing. All right. So now we get to go inside, and it's going to get a little raucous in there, so hopefully it's not too loud. All right, it likes it when I do this. It doesn't like that. How about again? There we go. So this is that bridge. The walkway connecting all the classrooms on the second floor. You're going to see, right now you might recognize those as the photographs that are currently in your commons, all the athletic teams over the years. This is a rendition of the servery. It's going to change a little bit when we had the right furniture. And then this is a view into the LMC, so you'll be able to see from the commons through the LMC out onto the grass beyond. You can see the greenhouse in the distance. You're seeing the surround for the field house and how the auditorium kind of bumps into this space and creates kind of a canopy, like an old marquee for the auditorium. We have some windows into the auditorium, and then trophy cases on either side of the entries, and a view into the field house. I kind of like the punch through the wall of the ball there. I'm glad some of you caught that. So this obviously is showing the bleachers retracted, but notice those windows back there. As I said, that's the fitness room and the multi-purpose. Here's that marquee feature of the auditorium. And then we're going to take you down into the music corridor that gets you to the band room. And this is where it's going to get a little loud. We're walking past all the practice rooms. Got Jen turning down the volume on this. There it goes. All right, so the band's going to be able to just leave their room like that and go right out to the plaza, which could start a new tradition. So as Jesse mentioned, top-loading bleachers for the stadium, and we're missing a few of the buildings out there that none of that's been designed yet. But you'll be able to turn around and come into what is now being called, because I called it that, the Cheesemaker Commons. No one else gave me that permission to do that, but that's what I'm calling it for now. We're looking for new names. But so you would be able to go from the stadium into the Commons and use those very large bathrooms that are designed for the field house and the auditorium, and then access the concession stand. So we hope that this Commons is going to be something that is going to be quite useful for everybody in the community. So the last thing we're going to show you is just a little glimpse of the second floor. We're going to go into a physics classroom. Now, well, let's pause here for a minute. We're looking now to the east, to the football field. So all the way down here, there you're seeing the glimpse of the field house surround, and then the windows that are providing daylight into the space. That's the auditorium sticking out a bit, and then there's that walkway. We're going to walk along here and go over to this classroom and walk inside. Walking past the restrooms on the left side, and then this first room is the physics classroom. Seeing a glimpse of that red material out the window. And then we're going to go into the classroom down there. Notice how it got really quiet in there. So again, this is one of those areas where I thought it'd be cool to paint the back wall blue and then have this decal put on it, but probably might do something better. Just a representation of what the classrooms might look like. Not a lot, typical ceilings, typical lighting, but still, in fact, this room is oriented with the short wall facing the window. So most of the classrooms have the long wall facing the window, so they even have quite a bit more glass than this. And that's our presentation for the exterior and the interior of the building.
So we had people submit some questions, and Rich is going to read those, and then we'll have the people up here that can answer those questions address them as they can.
All right, first question. At a school board meeting, it was stated community would have input on design of school. Why are only teachers having input?
So the early phase of the design was to do the programming. So it was about the educational spaces that are being used or ones that would be planned in the future. So that was that first phase. So there are going to be some community input, like with some of the legacy things and some of the other features that'll be involved with the building and the site. But in this first phase for planning to get the footprint, that was all related to the spaces that were going to be used by the educators and the staff.
All right, next question. Is the land finalized? If not, why?
So we have some due diligence parts that are still in process. So as much as we would have liked to have this done already, there are different things, different reports that have to be done, things that have to be completed. For example, we just got the DNR permit back last week, late last week. The traffic study, there needed to be an additional count a couple weeks ago, so that traffic study final report will be done soon. And then there's just things that we have to wait on. So what we have left yet to do is apply for the conditional use permit, which where we are in the project, because we're finalizing the footprint and the site plan. Once that's done, we have the second entrance. We'll have the traffic study, so we'll be able to start working to complete that conditional use permit, and then we'll be able to close on the property.
Okay, so I've got 4 questions about the road to KK. So I'm going to ask a couple of them. I think they can probably be summarized in answer. So there's one question regarding the bidding process for the road to KK. Is that done separately? Is the entrance road going to be included in the site grades? So some additional. Another question for the road to KK. Who is maintaining the road? There's a note that it was mentioned at a meeting that if the owner develops, they share in maintaining. There's a question about how does that cost sharing work? And a request to confirm that a mile-long road at 1 million is an accurate estimate.
Yeah, I can talk about the bidding. The road to KK would be bid with the rest of the project, but we'd have the subcontractors break out that cost so we knew the exact cost of that. But it would be bid with the civil package when we send that out to bid. The other question is on the estimate. So the estimate that we put together, we actually we did get input from subcontractors that will eventually be bidding on this project for the asphalt, for the excavation, for the stone under the road, and everything associated with it. So we're confident that's a good number because we not only did an internal estimate, but we also reached out to subcontractors to do that type of work and asked them what it would cost to complete that road.
So as the project evolved and we had to go to bid, that was an initial estimate. And the actual cost is expected to be around 1 million now.
So are you taking 700,000 that is lost, and when you take that out of school?
If you'd like to submit.
So just one more comment on this, because we want to do this with the questions we have, but to just address that, in the budget for that road to KK, there was $500,000 for improvements at KK, there was $500,000 for the road, and then there was $100,000 from the owners toward the construction of the road for $1.1 million, okay? I believe the number that came back was slightly underneath that after CG went and did their pre-bid estimation. That, I'm sure that's what we told you.
All right, so the next question that we have is a question about the safety of the building. There are a couple of questions here regarding just safety in general. If the project team would like to mention any safety features around the building and part of the building.
Well, all the wings are designed to be secured in the event of any kind of a security breach. And of course, we have the controlled entrance to the building, so visitors are not allowed into the building without announcing themselves and showing their credentials. We haven't done a full security analysis of all the features we're going to include. And even if we did, I don't know that we'd want to just publish them publicly, but we feel that the building is going to be state-of-the-art security without creating a bunker-like atmosphere.
All right, there's a question about opportunities for expansion. Specifically, question is expansion of a middle school, where would you put that? Is there room for a separate middle school? So I don't know if you want to touch on opportunities for expanding the footprint.
Expanding the footprint of the building?
Yes.
Yeah, each corner of the building, I don't know if I could go all the way back, but each corner of the building, the northwest wing is designed to attach back to the auditorium area, so that where the ag wing could support a double-loaded corridor, two-story tall new classroom wing. In the northeast corner, we've left enough room for expansion of the theater or music areas, or both. There's plenty of room over there. That plaza doesn't need to be quite as big as it's shown, and we've got areas. Well, I guess I could kind of do it on here, couldn't I? So back over here, there's plenty of room for growth for a black box theater, for example. over here by the gym, there's also a large area that could support something like a swimming pool if there was ever the desire to build something like that someday. There's room for that. We've accommodated the circulation for that, so that's all taken care of. And then there's plenty of room at the end here if we want to expand the tech ed areas as well. So we feel that in, the theater and drama areas, the athletic areas, the tech ed areas, and the classroom areas we've provided for expansion on the site. No, probably not. There would be opportunities to fortify the glass in such a way that we could prevent a person from getting in at the ground levels, but there are ways to do that with films and so forth and laminated glass. But as I said, we haven't really studied that and decided what the best course of action is. But the budget is not supporting bulletproof glass, but it would certainly support doing certain things to mitigate any possibility of a major breach.
There's next question is, will the current PAC seats, noted in parens almost new, be going to the new PAC? So it's a question about, the PAC seats, but I guess could be answered in the context of what do we plan to do with, and what do we plan to bring from this building, if anything?
Hello? There we go. All right. Michael had said that we're about 50% through the design, and really the design up to this point has really been about how do we take all of the programmatic needs that have been expressed and try to organize them in a building that's efficiently laid out. Lot of focus on the site as well. So that's really our next step in the design, is to begin to further investigate the materiality within the building, and then look for those opportunities where there are things from the existing building that we ought to try to incorporate into the new building. For instance, there are some rather new scoreboards that we think we can reutilize in the new building. I think it's an interesting thought to look at the seats in the PAC. My company has worked with a number of theater projects over the years, and there are opportunities to refurbish some seats. I mean, it could be that these could be picked up and moved as is. There's definitely some new code issues that will come into play that we have to consider, but that's certainly something that's worth us looking at.
Question for you, Michael. Why was orange selected? Monroe colors are red and white on the exterior of the building.
I thought it complemented the red well. I was worried about overusing the red. And I also, what color is aged cheddar, Steve?
Last time I had Cheetos, I don't recall.
Yeah, well, Cheetos are orange, so I don't know. I didn't want to necessarily say anything about it, but the cheesemaker thing entered my mind. I understand. I don't know if anybody in the conference has orange, do they? Oregon does? Well, I mean, let's have a contest. What color should it be? Because I'm not married to the orange. I just thought it looked nice, and I do think that we do need a splash color there. Now, on the inside of the building, because I think that if you just thought of that whole wing there without that piece, I think to me it would not be as effective. But on the furniture on the inside, if you remember, I was mixing black and white furniture, and then I put these little tables that were yellow. And I do know there's not a lot of yellow in the conference. I checked that. There might be like a beak on somebody that's yellow, but it's not their main color. So that's one that would work. I didn't think lime green would work. So anyway, that's kind of a lame answer, but it seemed like it looked good.
All right, next question. This one's for you, Jesse. It's a question about the traffic study. The question is, you stated 30% of the traffic will use an alternate entrance. Who are the 30% and why are we building a nearly 1 mile road entrance for 70% of the traffic? And the related question is just how does the traffic study arrive at 70% of the traffic coming from KK versus 31st Avenue?
So I'll start out with the 70-30 distribution. It's really set based on where we want to dictate the main entrance. With County Highway Access KK, it's a more efficient, and it gets us out of the residential area of 31st Avenue and also helps to offset traffic going to north side. AM and PM peak times along 31st do get busy at the intersection of 13th and 31st down by the Beverage Mart. And so we really want to dedicate that 31st Avenue exit more for buses and for the lower amounts of traffic. You know, we can't prevent everybody from using it, but, you know, the idea is to encourage people to use the main access, which is the County Highway KK. And it also gets you out on the edge of town, closer to the State Highway 11 access, which would be more efficient getting over to the west side of town or out and around, rather than trying to go down 13th and, you know, down through town. So that's really where the 30-70 distribution comes from. What was the other question?
What was the other one?
This is 70-30 distribution from 31st Avenue and the reason for building the road to KK. Why do we need the road?
The other part is it's very important to have two access points for emergency vehicles, police, fire. We want to make sure that we don't just have one access in and out of the school. By also having the two access, it helps distribute that traffic, especially during events such as the end of a football game. You know, having the County Highway KK access will add for a nice route out to KK and out and away from the school.
Okay. Next question is, I think Jesse and Michael could probably share answering this one. So it's a question about why the long corridor to get to the Pack-In Gym, and it's got a companion question that is a concern about it being inconvenient for the elderly, or is there access from a north parking lot? So maybe talk about the ADA accessibility or describe it. And then another follow-up about the plaza being designed for efficient snow removal. So if you could cover those.
Yeah, I'll start with the ADA access. There is a number of handicap stalls at the front of the entrance, as that is the grade closest to the first floor. And so, although it is a long entrance, it is not a much of a grade change from that west side and that main entrance.
As far as the length of the commons is concerned, that was really a factor of all the pieces that needed to fit along it. You know, when we PRA designs schools, we start with a what we call circulation factor, and it's well over 30%, and the circulation factor on this building is closer to 24 or 25. So the reason that is because we took large areas like the cafeteria and created the commons out of that. And we actually reduced circulation by attaching all of these functions to this commons element. So while it looks big, it's a super efficient use of the circulation that would normally be put into multiple corridors all around a building like we have here. You know, you're always trying to find your way around a courtyard somewhere, and you're not really sure where you are. But so there's two reasons for it. You know, if we if we tried to take anything out of it, we would be pinching the service area and pinching the classrooms and bringing the two wings closer together, and we wouldn't gain. We wouldn't gain. The square footage would just be squeezed out into the to the north and south.
And then to address the snow removal, the parking lot is designed to push the snow out to the outer edges of the parking, which would be downhill. There is a significant number of landscape islands and medians that are on the site, and that is actually a requirement of the city code. For every 12 stalls, parking stalls, there has to be a landscape island, which does make it challenging for snow removal, but we do try to accommodate that the best we can, such as at the ends of the drive aisles, we actually do a depressed curb so that they don't have a curb head so they can push snow right over the ends of it. And we try to plan that out as efficiently as we can while still meeting city requirements.
Can you talk specifically to Jesse about any design plans for efficient snow removal from the plaza on the east side to the plaza on the track side? Removing snow from the plaza, is it easy to do, or does it present a challenge?
Yeah, snow removal is always a challenge, especially when you have the islands. But I would say for the most part, it isn't any different than what you would consider like the Walmart parking lot.
Okay.
And we have a roadway that goes up to that plaza, so we can take a pickup truck up there and plow the plaza if we needed to. And we don't necessarily have to do the whole plaza either. It's not being used in the winter, so we just need a path.
I apologize, I understand. You're talking about the top of the football field in that plaza area. Yeah, so we do have a ADA access route from the north parking lot, which is 12-foot wide, which could accommodate a vehicle up to that area to plow that.
Okay, question about the overall number of students that this site could care for, and per classroom, or planned students per classroom.
I can. Of the initial programming that we have done for this building and the spaces that we are accommodating for approximately 700 students, a general classroom size is up to 30 students, but typically designed for 24. It's just a matter of how many students are necessary at that time, so it fluctuates a little bit. And then the lab areas, science rooms, the CTE area is usually planned for 24 students per classroom period.
There's a question about usage of artificial turf on the football field. If we'd like to address why that was the selected material.
So an artificial field has a lot of advantages, and that was a request of the community. But an artificial field has a great playing surface and less maintenance. Now it does have a life to it, as all products do. But overall, it is a nice facility to play on with reduced maintenance.
So one more comment about the artificial surface is it will be able to be used at a higher rate than we currently have in our grass surface. So especially during the football season, we wouldn't put FIAD classes or other community groups on that field in order to save the life of that turf as the season carries on. But right now that would be another green space that could be used by our PE classes every day. It could also be used by the community, on the weekends if they need a space to play football. So, for example, the YMCA will be playing their football games on our field next year because of their construction project. That isn't going to be an issue at any time in the future if we have the artificial surface.
The artificial surface is also very efficient with stormwater. There's under drain systems in it, and so it drains very quickly. So right after a rain event, almost immediately you can play on the surface.
Question for CG on, it's essentially the bidding process. The questioner is asking, how can site work estimates or bids be obtained for property that is not yet closed on?
So yeah, as far as, I think I understand the question, but we would, if we would have to extend that bid date, we would do that if we needed to make sure that, the property was closed before we went through that bidding process. I think I'm answering the question correctly if I understand it right.
I took it to mean, how do you obtain estimates when the bids would be for property that isn't closed on? But
Oh, yeah, I think with that, the property through KK, or going to KK, we would get an alternate bid for that and separate that from, the rest of the site, the 71 acres. So we'd keep that cost separate when we were bidding.
okay.
I think I can add to that. So estimating relies on some geology testing, right? So we were able to get on that property, even though it's not currently owned, and able to do some drilling, right? And that informs some of the estimates as well. So once you've got that data, whether or not you own the property, you really can apply costs for the cut, the fill, the excavation, the crossing of the stream. And again, it's estimates, and the bidding process is what would have to come after ownership.
Okay. Question on closing on the land. So there's a question, is the land finalized? We have yet to close on the land, so the answer is no. If not, why is the follow-up? And the district is working to clear all contingencies associated with the land. And included in those contingencies is seeking conditional land use permit, correct? Among what other contingencies?
That's correct. So obtaining the conditional use permit is one of the due diligence contingencies. That's correct.
And so clearing of those contingencies, there's a follow-up here. Why does the closure for the property continue to be pushed to a later date? And the district is working as quickly as possible to clear those contingencies, but we don't intend to close on a property that we can't clear contingencies on. And we feel that we're getting really close to clearing all of the remaining contingencies. There's another question about the land owner to the north. They're asking if there's an opportunity to relocate a main access road. They also mention it's the only issue that they are concerned with the project, and the school itself looks great. So thank you. You want to comment on that?
So as most people are aware, in Monroe and in the area, that BNS has purchased the property to the north. So we are in conversations with them to see what a potential main access would be to that coming from the north. So we have to figure out the same things that we had to do on KK, lengths of the road and approximate costs, and then we'll be able to talk more about that. But right now, we haven't been able to go any further than to know that they're interested and we're interested, and those conversations are happening in the coming weeks here. They've already started and they'll continue in the coming weeks. It would end up being if there's going to be one secondary access that's going to go in. So if the road's coming in from KK, then we wouldn't come in from the north. If the road's coming in from the north, then we wouldn't build the road to KK.
There's a couple of questions that are related, making note of the large number of windows that are in use. It's a question about the efficiency of the windows and if we've consulted with any outside vendors regarding heating and cooling costs given the amount of glass.
Well, we're confident that the building is going to meet state energy code quite easily. The percentage of glass on this building is significantly under what the code allows. So we will be using very high efficiency windows. The windows these days are well beyond even what we had 10, 15 years ago. So we're confident we're going to pass the energy code easily. You know, you always do a trade-off of how the building feels and what are the benefits of daylight. And we've had a bunch of conversations on our team about, you know, how hard it is to get through winters in Monroe and Wisconsin, and how gray and dingy it is. And, you know, so, you know, we're just big proponents of providing, you know, more than the minimum amount of daylight and views out of these rooms. Let the teachers and the users control that daylight, but give them the opportunity to open up the spaces. And if you've seen some of the more recently built schools, you know, like Wisconsin Dells is one that we did, it's one of the striking things about it. You know, we put some reasonable sized windows on the exterior, then we put even some windows on the corridors, and the views out of the corridors and the daylight into the corridors far surpasses than anything you know, that had been done like when this school was done. Even though this school has some really cool clear-story windows above all of their lockers, you know, there isn't the ability to really see into the classrooms or get that daylight out into the corridor. So we feel like we're going to do an excellent job of, you know, there are other ways to work on the energy efficiency of the building. We're going to be selecting the best HVAC systems we can, and we will be looking at all of that to make sure that we're getting the best balance, energy efficiency and daylighting and views. We have not yet done the analysis. Our HVAC engineers and electrical engineers are just getting started, but you know, all of that will be done.
This is a question about regarding the use of LED lighting. They'd like to know what the plan for lighting is, mostly to control and minimize stray light from the building to the surrounding areas, so the homes and residential areas around there.
So as part of the site lighting, a photometric plan is submitted, which has a cutoff at the property lines. That is a requirement of the city code. And so the fixtures are full cutoff fixtures that get installed at the site.
Okay. There are several related, well, I have three related questions to one of the first slides that you had up, Dan, with regards to the total $95 million available to the project. So the question is, how are we able to exceed the $88 million budget authorized by the referendum? I don't know if you want to take that one, Fig, or Dan.
So 88 was approved through the referendum, and then by investing those dollars at a higher rate than what we're borrowing at, we have an interest windfall. Those dollars have to be used within the project, and those dollars at about $7 million. So the $88 million from the referendum is there, and then the additional dollars are from the interest proceeds from that $88 million.
There's a question, there's a design question asking about how we decided to select the external walls. The questioner is likening it to an industrial building, or they would like to know how we arrived at the selection of the materials.
Well, in an effort to do the most efficient and cost-effective design we could for this building, to maximize the amount of education spaces and the auditorium and all the other great amenities within this building, we chose what was a very cost-effective facade system. We looked at other systems that would have fit the budget, including almost all metal panel. One other thing that does not meet the budget is a traditional brick building with stone on it or whatever. We couldn't afford to do a masonry building, so we had to choose between a small number of systems that would work. And so we felt that this one, while being one of the most cost-effective ways to do it, it offers some really great opportunities for speed of construction, elimination of exterior steel because we're using these panels to carry the floor structure. These panels are insulated panels, so they're delivered to the site with 4 inches of insulation built into the system. And we feel that the exterior, while streamlined and modern, it still has the touch of artistic quality that we would like to be able to put in, that human touch that the school deserves. And I like it. So it just seemed to be, it's a good combination of efficiency, cost effectiveness, and aesthetics.
All right. The last question I have is a question regarding solar panels. The questioner would like to know if they could be added to the roof at a later date or anywhere to the property.
So I'll take this initially. If somebody else wants to jump in, they can. So we have been communicating with our Club Earth students and some other people in the community that were interested in renewable energy. And there is obviously a lot of solar panels get placed on roofs, but the way that our site lays, we actually would have spaces along the south and east edges that they could be ground units. They could be posted in a ground unit if that's something that ends up becoming part of the project. So we talked about what would have to be added if they would go to the roof with the architect and anything that has to be done with that. It's very light, as far as weight, light equipment. So if that was the case, that could be done for very minimal cost. But right now, looking at it as a possible enhancement for the project as we move forward, that's something that we would probably place on the ground, and some of the lower areas would have access to full sun.
To wrap up a little bit before I hand it off to Fig for some final comments, I just again wanted to thank everybody to join us for the presentation. Thank you to the project team members for being here to answer questions from the public. We'll be here afterwards to answer any questions if anybody would like to stick around. Your entire Board of Education is here tonight as well to answer questions for you. And I thank them all for being present to be a part of this as well.
We also have quite a few people, I'm sure, that are watching the live stream. This was recorded, so we'll get this up as soon as it gets finished for publication. Jen, do you have there it is. So it's up on the board there. So that is going to be a email address that if you want to send program-related questions to, we will take a look at those and respond to them within a reasonable amount of time to try to get those questions answered. Or if they can't be answered, let you know that we're looking into it or whatever. So that's one way for you to communicate with us. And I hope that everybody is excited and happy to see a lot of the things that have been done, the efficiencies that have been built into the project. And we're going forward from here. So we're going into our next phase. And again, as Rich said, thank you very much for your time. We will stay up here if some people want to come in and come up and ask some questions.